If you think this debate is a referendum on Joe Biden, you're missing the big story here. This debate will showcase the one thing that Donald Trump is trying to hide, and that is Donald Trump himself. Think about the last few years. Trump has been largely out of the spotlight, unless you're one of what feels like only several dozen people who are on Truth Social, or who've had the misfortune of finding yourself in the hellscape that is a Trump rally. You probably haven't heard from him too much. He certainly isn't in all of our faces the way he was when he was holding daily COVID press briefings, cosplaying as an epidemiologist, or when his tweets would drive the news cycle on a daily basis. But it was that attention on Trump that had the direct consequence of turning Americans away from him. Having Trump in our faces was why 81 million Americans showed up in November and voted him out of office back in 2020. He has now enjoyed relative obscurity, certainly compared to when he was in the White House, but that's about to vanish in an instant, in front of the biggest audience for a presidential debate that we may ever see. And so I know that most people on the right are desperate to shoehorn through this narrative that the focus will be on Biden, but remember, Republicans have lowered the bar so much for Joe Biden by virtue of their constant attacks on his age, that if the guy can utter complete sentences, he'll have succeeded. And they do this constantly, where they lower expectations and then Biden inevitably exceeds them and they're left scrambling. Here's just one example of what that looks like.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. We're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be started. All right.
Not only does Biden excel here, but he actually rolls the Republicans. So if the talking point is that he's too senile to remember his own name, that doesn't exactly reflect too well on Republicans when he constantly eats their lunch. Contrast that, however, with what Trump does in public, and then tell me with a straight face that Joe Biden is the liability on that stage. Here's Jonathan Capehart making that point exactly.
If past his prologue, we know what to expect from Trump. Utter chaos, like the kind that prompted this response from Biden at a 2020 debate.
Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why wouldn't you answer that question?
The question is,
the radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Trump's annoying tactics are nothing new. Back in 2016, during his second presidential debate against Hillary Clinton, Trump stalked her around the stage like a malevolent land shark as she addressed voters. And his childlike behavior continued in their third debate during a heated discussion about Russian President Vladimir Putin.
From everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
In fact, just this week, Trump was rambling so incoherently about washing machines that Fox News had to literally cut away from his speech in order to protect him.
There's so much water you don't know what to do with it. You know, it's called rain. It rains a lot in certain places. But no, their idea, you know, did you see the other day? They just put, I opened it up and they closed it again. I opened it, they closed it. Washing machines to wash your dishes. There's a problem. They don't want you to have any water. They want no water. And I was with water.
And you were just listening to former President Trump, and we're going to talk about some of the things he was discussing there.
And of course, that's to say nothing of the extent to which Trump has deteriorated since then. This is the guy who has since claimed that Obama is the president while Biden was in office, that we're on the brink of World War II, as if World War II hadn't happened yet, that Nikki Haley was in charge of security at the Capitol on January 6th, that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East, that Viktor Orban is the leader of Turkey. The list goes on and on. If Joe Biden said 1/10 of the things that Donald Trump says repeatedly, Sean Hannity would be checking him into hospice care. So I, for one, have zero intention of ignoring the double standard. It was Republicans who decided that this election would be a referendum on a candidate's qualifications and mental state. So I'll choose the guy who's presided over the addition of 15 million jobs over the guy who thinks you need to show ID to buy bread any day of the week. And let's be clear, those closest to Trump are well aware that he's a liability, which is why they actually started desperately laying the groundwork for Trump to drop out of this debate.
Now, there are some even saying, Mark, that Donald Trump might be wise to just pass on the first debate, wait till he's nominated, then debate him. What would you say to that?
I've never seen such disrespect. They have never in the history of television ever taken a national press secretary and treated her with such lack of respect. Cassie Hunt owes you an apology. CNN owes you an apology today. And if we don't get that apology to Caroline Leavitt and to the Trump campaign and to MAGA today, President Trump should cancel this.
Or you've got his online provocateurs, like top Trump loyalist and VIP right-wing influencer Cat Turd 2, who wrote, "Of course CNN has already given Joe Biden all the debate questions, 100% guaranteed." And is it embarrassing that I have to quote Cat Turd 2 to give a real sense of what's happening among Republicans? Absolutely. And by the way, when I say that this debate isn't a referendum on Biden, that is because Biden has already shown the American people what his administration could do. His accomplishments speak for themselves. The American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Law, the Gun Safety Law, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, the Violence Against Women Act, 15 million jobs added, the longest stretch of 4% unemployment in half a century, reduced inflation, higher wages, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 300,000 clean energy jobs, and a promise to protect Roe. Is Joe Biden old? Sure is. Has that stopped Joe Biden from presiding over the most accomplished presidency of our lifetimes? Not at all. This debate is going to be about Trump reintroducing himself to a country that has rejected him or Trumpism every time an election's been had. 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2023. Joe Biden has nothing to prove. His record speaks for itself. This is about Trump reminding Americans exactly why they turned out in record numbers to take his job away. Before you go, to see more content from MSNBC, make sure to subscribe to this channel by clicking the link right here on this screen. And you can also follow the link to see some exclusive content only on TikTok.